There's a whole lot of unnecessary backstory I'll leave out. I rented my parents' house after they retired and moved south. I paid slightly below the market rate. I planned to save up and eventually buy the house at a great price. They would then give that money to my brother as part of their estate. My share was the subsidized rent and the very subsidized purchase agreement. Everyone thought this was fair, until my brother's wife started running up debts they couldn't cover. This led to them losing their home and needing help. I love my brother and my nephews, so when my mom asked me if they could move in, I talked to my husband and we agreed. We're in the process of adopting 2 siblings, but we're still not there. It was only going to be temporary, so why not? Half the rent for a few months would help us with the down payment and expenses. They moved in February. I transferred half my usual rent to my parents when March rolled around. My mom called me to ask me where the rest was. I assumed that Brad was paying the other half. Nope, I had to pay all the rent. I wondered why I had to pay for them to stay in my house. My mom said it wasn't my house yet and that I was being mouthy. I saw the writing on the wall. I paid the rent and started looking. We had a good amount saved up, and we didn't need a big old house with lots of maintenance issues that we'd been handling. We paid the full rent in April as well, but we moved out and into the house we closed on. It was ready for immediate possession, and with my husband and I having a decent income and 25% down, it went smoothly. The only downside is the much smaller yard, but it is a block away from a public park, so we aren't losing much. I did tell my parents we were leaving. On May 1st, I got another call from my mom. She wanted the rent. I said I wasn't living there anymore. She said I was breaking our deal. I said that our deal never included me paying for my brother's living expenses. She said they couldn't afford to cover the mortgage without my rent. I told her to get the money from my brother. He was still working. She said he was trying to pay his debts. I said that his wife should get a job. Long story short, she said I was being cheap and vicious to my brother and to my parents. We're settling into our newish house and have been just ignoring them for a while. But I'm wondering if maybe I'm wrong. Am I the idiot for moving out? Definitely not the idiot. You didn't sign up to start supporting your brother and his whole family. And you were courteous when you paid the full rent and informed your mom you were moving out. Did your brother even say thank you for spotting his rent? No, he didn't. We barely talked. He's somewhat ashamed of his current situation, since he always criticized me for living at home while he was out making something of himself. Darn, karma came back to bite him hard. But in my opinion, it might be best to go low contact for a while. Like you said, you and your husband are trying to adopt siblings. You don't need this drama in your life right now. Also, you gave them more notice of leaving than they gave you that you'd still be paying full rent to house a second family. But let's be real. You were never going to own that house as long as your brother's family needed it. You'd probably have to evict them and deal with months of family drama and animosity. You did the right thing for your family, especially since you're trying to adopt. Owning a home and not having too many people in it are major factors in that process. I'm also going to guess your parents don't consider your impending adoption as important too. Yep, they probably won't view OP's adopted kids as real grandchildren and will favor the brother's kids as blood relations. And as a mom, an adult telling another adult that they're mouthy has some gall. OP isn't a bratty preteen. She was financially helping her family. They need to learn a bit of respect. OP, you aren't being cheap. Your brother and your parents are. I, female 26, and my boyfriend, male 25, switched to remote jobs at the same company 3 years ago. Around that time, he proposed we use our newfound freedom to travel the world since we had no local responsibilities. He was incredibly passionate about it and planned everything, so I followed his lead. For 6 months, we had amazing experiences. For context, even though he was a year younger, he had lived independently for 6 years while I was still with my family. This trip was my first trip so far from home, and I had experiences I would never have had without his initiative. However, the joy didn't last long because we returned home about 1,600 euros in debt each. He had assured me our salaries would roughly cover the trip. Still, we ended up short every month, and his spontaneous booking of our return flight added several hundred euros to the cost. It took months to repay the debt, and since then, my trust in his travel planning has been shattered. I was shocked when he said, "In a few years, we won't think about this money anymore, but the experience will stay with us forever." He has a different background, having looked after himself since he was 16 and experienced bigger financial highs and lows. For me, it was my first job, and being in debt for the first time really affected me mentally and scared me a lot. Since then, I've rejected all his suggestions for longer trips or traveling outside of Europe. Today, he approached me again, explaining he now understands how much debt affects me and has a new 1-month trip outside Europe in mind. He claimed he would ensure this trip stayed within our budget and emphasized that he wanted me to focus on our fond memories rather than the debt. He listened to my concerns and even reviewed our past finances to find ways to save money this time. He admitted his mistake with the spontaneous return flight booking and promised to book both flights together this time. Despite his efforts, I didn't want to approve this trip because I was still disappointed by his previous recklessness. He also seemed to expect gratitude for planning everything during the first trip, which he never received because I was too angry about the aftermath. He appeared very disappointed by my rejection and lack of thanks. He reminded me we were both young and that he had learned a lot about travel planning and my needs, acknowledging how important financial stability is to me compared to him. His attitude made me angry, and I told him I wasn't just young, I was also stupid to blindly trust you. This hurt him deeply, and he was speechless for a while. I believe my concerns are valid, as is his prioritization of adventure over stable finances still worries me. However, his reaction makes me question if I might be the idiot here. At the age of 22, he took care of all the planning and budgeting of your international travels for 6 months, and at the end of all of that, you only exceeded your budget by 1,600 euros each, a lot of it being due to the last-minute flights back home? That lad did miracles. Generally, neither's wrong for having different preferences and priorities in life, but you are the idiot for lashing out at him. My question would be, what did OP do to help or improve the situation, and how long will this go? All I read is OP wants to stay mad at him. Honey, you seem to put all the blame on him for the debt. You were 23, a full adult with a job. Take some responsibility. If you want your relationship to last, you need to share the blame for all the decisions you made together and stop hurtful comments during discussions. What's going to happen when you mess up? Can he hold it against you forever too? Sorry, OP, but you can't be serious. Your boyfriend took you on a 6-month trip around the world, which resulted in a very, very small amount of debt. 3 years ago? To be honest, I'm surprised he's still bothering to try to include you, let alone entertaining your anger about less than $2,000 in a deficit after a 6-month overseas trip that you attended. OP, you are wild and a major buzzkill. You're an idiot, and I wouldn't take you to the grocery store, much less on vacation. My wife of 8 years is a few months pregnant, and we're currently on a beautiful beach vacation. She's always been a naturally thin woman, and prior to getting pregnant, led Pilates and yoga classes. She's the type of person who takes a ton of pride in their physical health. A few days before this trip, she wanted me to go swimsuit shopping. I obliged, and we went to a few different stores. Every shopping trip ended in her crying in the dressing room because she hated the way her body looked. She can't get over the fact she has a belly now and things don't fit the same. I think she looks incredible, and I was extremely patient during the entire swimsuit shopping fiasco. She kept calling herself fat and being overdramatic about everything. Finally, she settled on something. I kept assuring her repeatedly that I think she looks incredible. She does. Fast forward to this morning, we decided to make a trip down to the pool. I'm getting our son ready and she comes out with her new swimsuit. I told her she looked cute and I loved it. Couldn't take my eyes off her. Then I said, "Honestly, babe, people might not even think you're pregnant." She looked stunned and horrified. She asked, "You don't think people will know I'm pregnant? My stomach is huge." And she's right. It's a decent size compared to her pre-pregnancy body. But people have stomachs that are that size without being pregnant. And that's all I was trying to say. Immediate tears, immediately freaked out, changed into clothes, and refused to come down to the pool. She said she doesn't want people to think she has a big belly, and she's making it seem like it's so insulting to have that. I genuinely don't understand the big deal. I think she's being ridiculous. She cares too much about what people think and is now ruining our trip by staying inside and not making memories with her son. Instead, she's crying in a hotel room, throwing it in my face that she paid for everything for this trip, and I ruined it for her. I love her more than anything, pregnancy or not, but this is getting out of hand, and I'm fed up with all this talk about her feeling insecure when she still looks perfectly fine. Not the idiot. So this isn't her first pregnancy? Maybe she needs to talk to her OBGYN. She's been through pregnancy before, so she knows what to sort of expect. But if she's getting emotional, she might be going through something and needs to be checked out. It could be hormones. OP, this isn't body dysmorphia. Then goes on to describe body dysmorphia. Sure, the hysteria might be hormones, but being hysterical about a very normal pregnancy bump makes you look fat, versus being hysterical that your husband got you vanilla, not vanilla bean ice cream. This means that body image issues are deep-seated mental health issues. Hopefully I'm being paranoid, but please be vigilant that she doesn't do anything dietary or exercise related that might harm your baby. My 20 male, sister 28, has a kindergartner. His dad is not in the picture. She's currently temporarily living with us. My nephew is the most entitled little brat you will ever meet. He's a super picky eater, constantly jumps around, is messy, moody, oversensitive, and throws tantrums, all because my sister enables him. Before she moved in with us, I used to feel sad for her, but now I think this is honestly my sister's fault. For example, he keeps bringing in dirty rocks, and instead of telling him not to, my sister washes them for him and lets him keep them. Or when he cries over a toy, she always gives in and buys him whatever he wants. He won't sleep without his toys and has the worst sleep schedule. He'll wake up in the middle of the night wanting to play because he just remembered something. She enables this behavior by listening to what he has to say. He's touch sensitive, sound sensitive, light sensitive, sensitive anything, and my sister does nothing to get him used to it. She also refuses to discipline him in any way. I told her to tell him to eat or go to bed hungry, and eventually he would get hungry and eat, but she refused, saying she wouldn't starve her kid. I told her to stop picking up his toys after him and not give him toys until he learned, but she said she wouldn't punish him like that. He still occasionally wets himself, and my sister took him to a pediatrician for that. Still, they found nothing wrong and recommended him to a child psychiatrist. So he got evaluated and didn't get diagnosed with anything, but my sister refused to believe that this was the result of her poor parenting and went doctor shopping to get him diagnosed. Now, since she's moved in with us, my mom has been helping her. She told us how anxious she was about moving back because she would be all alone again and that she loved my nephew. She wouldn't change him for the world, but sometimes he could be so hard to handle. I said, "That's on you, though." She asked me what I meant, and I told her my nephew is hard to handle because she lacks discipline and keeps enabling him. Her gentle parenting clearly doesn't do her any favors. She doesn't get to complain because she paved the way by refusing to listen to our offers. My sister broke down and started crying because there was already too much on her plate. He didn't get the help he needed. She did the best she could, and she didn't need me mom-shaming her. I apologized but told her there was nothing wrong with him. He already saw a professional. The only help he needs is some discipline. Both my parents sided with my sister, and they're all giving me the cold shoulder. Am I the idiot? I'm sorry, a kindergartner acts like a kindergartner, and you think you have something to say about it? He sleeps with his toys. Oh no, she takes care of his things. How dare she? She listens to him when he speaks. Awful. You are the idiot. I'm happily child-free. You're the type of person that gives us a bad name. Oh, the overconfident wisdom of a 20-year-old, LOL. And the, she's living with us, as if he's not a 20-year-old living with his parents. Maybe they should stop coddling the OP and kick him out. Please continue to do the world a favor and grow up before you choose to have children of your own. And stop telling your sister how to parent her son. Everyone is a great parent until they're actually a parent. Being a single parent is really tough. Everyone always seems to know better than you and is waiting for you to fail. My ex-wife, 32, and I, 33 male, finalized our divorce last year, and she's already moved in with her affair partner. We were married for 5 years and together for 10, and it hurt a lot. Over the past year, it's clear that my ex-wife's new boyfriend has been psychologically and emotionally abusing her. It honestly makes me want to beat up the dude, and my ex-wife's mental health is completely tanked. My ex-wife called me a few times over the last couple of months, and it's obvious she's struggling. I've asked her multiple times to just cut it off with him, pack up her bags and move in with her parents, but she doesn't want to because she feels isolated from her parents after our divorce. She's also a stay-at-home mom to her boyfriend's daughter, and so she feels even more trapped. She asked me if I could pick her up and if she could stay with me for a while. I'm not scared of that dude whatsoever, and if I wanted to, I could just drive over to their house and pick her up right now. But I told her I wouldn't do that, and she had to get the courage to just step out and go to her parents, or just ask her friends for help. My ex-wife is obviously struggling badly, but I'm also not a humanitarian. There are a lot of people in this world who are suffering. I'm not a Superman who can save everyone, and I must pick my battles for my mental sanity. Am I the idiot for not helping my ex-wife who cheated on me? Not the idiot. Buddy, it's time to cut ties with your ex-wife permanently. She made her choices, and it's not your responsibility to save her from the consequences. Focus on your own well-being and let her figure things out on her own. Time to put yourself first. Absolutely agree. Although I do think OP should call her parents and tell them what's going on so they can go get her. That or tell them he'll pick her up, but instead of bringing her home, take her to her parents' house. OP doesn't owe it to her, but he could put that aside for a day and help her get out, then cut ties with her. At least that's what I think I would do. I'd feel responsible if the dude ended up really hurting her. I might hate her, but knowing how much she's struggling and being isolated, yet she reached out to me for help, I think I'd have to do something, but definitely not letting her move back in. I disagree. She is in no way his responsibility. She needs to contact her own parents. Again, he owes her absolutely nothing. She needs to put on her big girl pants and deal with her own problems that she created. Dude, she's trying to drag you into a hot darn mess. It's not your job to fix her mistakes. Sadly, she made her bed and now must lie in it. It is disrespectful as heck that she reaches out to you to complain about the life she left you for. She literally could not care less about your feelings.